Ravi had dreamed of moving away from the noisy city for many years. The constant traffic, the crowded streets, and the stress of work had worn him down. He wanted a quiet life where he could breathe freely and hear the wind through the trees. When he first saw the small house at the edge of town, he felt a wave of relief. The house was modest but strong. Its walls were painted soft cream, and the windows let in sunlight all day. The yard was wide and open, with soft green grass stretching toward a small line of trees at the back. It was perfect for what he imagined: a garden, a few fruit trees, and a place to sit quietly in the evening and watch the sky. The day Ravi moved in, he carried boxes across the empty rooms, feeling a mix of excitement and exhaustion. The air smelled fresh, unlike the dust and smoke of the city. The town itself was quiet. Children played near the small park down the street, and a few neighbors were watering plants or sweeping their sidewalks. Everything felt calm and alive in a gentle way. After setting down the last box, Ravi decided to explore the yard. The sun was still warm, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. He walked around the edges, noting where he could plant trees and flowers. At the far corner, near a small wooden shed, he imagined a vegetable garden. He could see tomatoes and cucumbers climbing small stakes, marigolds lining the edge, and a small bench where he could sit with a cup of tea. It was peaceful just thinking about it. As he measured the yard with his eyes, he noticed movement. A woman was walking toward him along the path that led to his gate. She carried a large folder under her arm. Her steps were firm, and her expression was serious. She did not wave or smile. Ravi straightened up and greeted her politely. "Hello," he said. "I am Ravi. Can I help you?" The woman paused and looked at him carefully. "I am Myra," she said. "I represent the local housing association. We need to speak with you about your property." Her voice was firm, without a hint of warmth. Ravi nodded. "Of course. What is the matter?" Myra opened her folder and pulled out a document. She pointed toward the back corner of the yard near the shed. "This land," she said, "is not yours. The association plans to use this area for a community building. You are expected to hand it over within a week." Ravi felt his heart skip a beat. "I'm sorry, but this yard is part of my property," he said calmly. "I bought this house legally. I have all the papers. I checked everything before I signed the papers." Myra shook her head. "The association does not agree. This is not optional. You must give up this land." Her tone was final, as if nothing Ravi said could change her mind. Ravi stayed polite. "I will review the documents and speak with the association. I need to make sure everything is clear." Myra's lips pressed together. Without another word, she turned and walked away. Ravi watched her go, feeling a mix of confusion, frustration, and concern. He had just moved in, and now someone was demanding a part of his land. He went back inside and sat at the kitchen table. The papers were spread in front of him. The property deed, maps, survey documents, everything showed clearly that the yard belonged to him. There was no error. He thought carefully about the next steps. He did not want conflict, but he could not allow someone to take land that was legally his. To clear his mind, Ravi went outside again. He walked to the front of the house and noticed a few neighbors watering plants or talking quietly. He decided to introduce himself. First, he walked to a small house across the street where a man was trimming his bushes. "Hello, I'm Ravi. I just moved in," he said with a friendly smile. The man stopped and wiped his hands. "Welcome," he said. "I am Hasan. Nice to meet you." Ravi hesitated for a moment, then asked, "Has the association ever caused problems here?" Hasan sighed. "Sometimes. They like to control everything, even small things. Some neighbors had disputes over fences or gardens. You need to be careful." Ravi nodded. He appreciated the warning. He felt a small sense of reassurance. At least some people were aware of how the association worked, and he might have support if needed. Over the next few hours, Ravi checked the yard carefully. He imagined planting the garden and arranging the fruit trees. Every corner of the yard felt personal, as if it already belonged to him. He knew he would fight to protect it later in the evening. Myra returned. This time she was with 2 other members of the association. They looked at the house and yard, whispering to each other. Their expressions were serious, almost stern. Ravi watched from the porch. He did not go to them. He decided to remain calm and patient. That night, Ravi sat at his desk with the lights on and the papers spread around him. He reviewed every document carefully. Deed maps, land surveys, purchase agreements all showed that the yard was legally his. He also started writing notes about what he would say when he spoke with the association. He wanted to be polite, firm, and precise. He did not want the matter to turn into a shouting match. The moon rose high in the sky, casting a soft glow across the yard. The trees swayed gently in the wind. Ravi felt a mix of anxiety and determination. He wanted peace. He wanted to enjoy his new home, but he knew that protecting the land was important. The association could not bully him into giving up something that was legally his. As he leaned back in his chair, he thought about the neighbors he had met. Hasan seemed like a man who could help with advice. A few others had smiled when he introduced himself. Perhaps there were more people in the neighborhood who understood fairness and the importance of standing up for one's rights. Ravi made a mental note to meet more neighbors in the coming days. Allies could be helpful. Finally, Ravi went to bed, but his mind remained busy. The thought of tomorrow brought both worry and hope. He knew that the association might try again. Mira might come back with more demands or pressure. He had to be ready. He also reminded himself to stay calm and polite. Anger could make things worse. Logic, preparation, and patience would be his tools. Before closing his eyes, he looked out the window at the yard. The moonlight reflected on the soft grass. He imagined the flowers, the vegetables, and the trees he would plant. The yard was his home. He was determined to protect it, no matter how hard the association tried. A fight was coming, but Ravi felt ready. Tomorrow, he thought, would be the first step, and this time, he would face it with strength, patience, and intelligence. Ravi closed his eyes. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, he dreamed of a peaceful yard, soft grass under his feet, and a life built on calm and fairness. He was ready for the challenge. The next morning, Ravi woke early. The sunlight came through the window in soft golden streams. He felt a mixture of nervousness and determination. Today he would speak to the housing association. He had reviewed all his documents the night before and organized them neatly in a folder. Each paper, map, and receipt was in order. He was ready to prove that his land belonged to him. Before leaving the house, he walked through the yard once more. The grass felt soft under his feet, and the wind carried the faint smell of fresh earth. He imagined the garden he wanted to plant. Each flower, tree, and vegetable patch was part of his vision for this place. He would not give up any of it. Ravi left the house and walked to the community office where the association often held meetings. The building was small, with white walls and a red roof. A sign read, Greenfield Housing Association. He took a deep breath and pushed open the door. The smell of coffee and paper filled the room. Several people were seated around a large table. Myra was there, her expression calm but firm. Two others sat with her. Ravi, Myra said as soon as she noticed him. Please, sit. He chose a chair across from them and opened his folder. Thank you for meeting with me, he said politely. I want to understand your concerns, but I also want to make it clear that the land at the back of my house is mine. Myra smiled slightly, but it was not warm. We believe there is an error in the property lines, she said. We want to use part of your yard for a small community building. It will benefit everyone in the neighborhood. Ravi listened carefully. I understand the association wants to improve the community, he said, but the land belongs to me. I have the DID maps and survey papers. All show that this area is part of my property. I cannot give it up. Another member, a tall man with gray hair, leaned forward. We have been generous with you, Ravi. Other residents have agreed to share land when needed. You could also choose to cooperate. Ravi stayed calm. I respect my neighbors, but I cannot give away my property without reason. The law is clear. If there is a mistake, it should be corrected legally. I am willing to talk and resolve issues peacefully, but I cannot simply surrender land that is mine. Myra's face grew slightly tense. She opened her folder again and spread several papers on the table. See here, she said, pointing at a map. Our survey shows the corner of your yard overlaps with the community property. You must accept it. Ravi examined the papers carefully. His own documents clearly showed his boundaries. He pointed to the lines. These maps are official. They were verified by the town surveyor. My property ends here, and this corner is part of my yard. I cannot see any overlap. The room became quiet. Myra frowned. We have our plans, she said slowly. This is for the benefit of everyone. Ravi took a deep breath. I understand the desire to improve the community. I also want a peaceful neighborhood, but taking my property is not a fair solution. There must be another way. The gray-haired man leaned back and sighed. You are stubborn, Ravi. Most people would not fight this. Ravi smiled politely. I believe in fairness. I also believe in following the law. That is why I am presenting my documents and willing to discuss. Fighting is not my goal. Protecting my property is. Myra looked frustrated but did not respond. She closed her folder and leaned back in her chair. We will discuss and decide, she said finally. But do not think this will end quickly. Ravi nodded. He understood. The association was not going to give up easily. He had to be prepared for more meetings, more pressure, and perhaps even attempts to intimidate him. But he felt a strange sense of confidence. He knew the truth was on his side. When he returned home, Ravi decided to take another approach. He went around the neighborhood, speaking to more residents. Some were curious about the situation. Others were cautious, afraid of the association. He explained politely that he had legal ownership of his yard and that he wanted peace, not conflict. A woman named Layla, who lived 2 houses down, smiled at him. I understand, she said. The association can be harsh sometimes. Many people feel pressured. You are right to stand firm. I will support you if needed. Ravi felt encouraged. Knowing that some neighbors understood his position gave him hope. He also realized he was not alone. There were people in the community who valued fairness. He decided to keep talking with them, quietly building support. In the days that followed, Myra and the association visited Ravi several times. Each time they tried to persuade him to give up part of the yard. Sometimes they brought maps, sometimes they spoke of community benefits, and sometimes they tried to hint at possible trouble if he refused. Ravi stayed calm. He responded politely but firmly. Each time, he presented his documents and explained the legal situation. He never raised his voice. He never insulted anyone. Instead, he relied on facts, preparation, and patience. One afternoon, while Ravi was planting flowers near the back fence, he noticed Myra walking toward him with a notebook. Ravi greeted her politely. "Myra," he said, "I am working on the garden. I hope you are well." Myra looked at him with a frown. "You are making things difficult," she said. "We only want what is best for the community." Ravi nodded. "I understand. I also want the community to thrive. But I cannot give land that is mine. Perhaps we can find another solution that does not take anyone's property." Myra shook her head and walked away. Ravi continued planting flowers, feeling calm. Each flower he placed in the soil felt like a small victory. He was creating a home while standing firm. That evening, Ravi called Hazen and spoke about the recent visits. Hazen gave him advice on how to respond to the association. "Stay calm," he said. "Do not argue. Present your documents clearly. If they try to force the issue, get legal advice. You are stronger than you think." Ravi felt grateful. The support of neighbors gave him courage. He realized that standing up for himself did not mean standing alone. Over the next few days, Ravi also researched local laws about property and housing associations. He wanted to be fully prepared. He found information on legal rights, survey verification, and procedures to challenge wrongful claims. He printed out all the necessary documents and kept them organized in a folder. One morning, Myra returned with 2 other members. They tried to pressure him again. "You must agree," she said. "This is final." Ravi looked at them calmly. He opened his folder and showed the survey maps and legal documents. "These papers prove that the land is mine," he said. "I cannot give it up. If there is any dispute, it must go through legal review. I am ready for that, but I will not surrender my property without reason." Mira's face turned red. She realized Ravi would not back down easily. For the first time, Ravi noticed hesitation in her expression. That night, Ravi reflected on the events. He realized he had faced the first real challenge of his new life. It was difficult and stressful, but he had remained calm and collected. He had protected his rights without anger or rash decisions. He felt stronger than he had expected. He also understood that this fight might continue for weeks or even months. The association might try to use every trick to pressure him, but Ravi had something they could not take away: the truth and his determination. He would fight smart, patiently, and with support from neighbors who valued fairness. As he went to bed, Ravi looked out at his yard. The flowers he had planted glowed softly in the evening light. The garden felt alive, like a small shield around his home. He smiled. No matter what happened, he would protect this place. This was his home, and no one could take it without a fair fight. Tomorrow, he thought, would be another day of meetings, discussions, and challenges. But he felt ready. He would meet every obstacle with patience, intelligence, and determination. The real fight had begun, but Ravi knew he could face it and win. Ravi knew that the housing association would not stop. Their visits had become more frequent, and Mira's tone had grown sharper. Each time she appeared, she tried to intimidate him, reminding him of the community's plans. But Ravi had learned that remaining calm and prepared gave him more strength than fear or anger ever could. Early one morning, he decided to reach out to more neighbors. Walking down the quiet streets, he greeted everyone with a smile. Some returned it cautiously, while others looked wary. He understood why. Stories of the association's pressure had spread quickly. Many residents had complied quietly, fearing conflict. Ravi, however, had decided that he would not be one of them. He stopped at a house where an older couple, Imran and Sophia, were tending to their garden. The flowers were bright, and the air smelled sweet with lavender and roses. Ravi waved. "Good morning," he said. "I am Ravi, your new neighbor. May I speak with you for a moment?" Imran wiped his hands and nodded. "Of course. What is this about?" Ravi explained the situation politely, showing the association's claims and the boundaries of his property. He spoke clearly and calmly, emphasizing that he wanted fairness in a peaceful neighborhood. "I am not trying to create trouble," he said. "I only wish to protect my home and my land. I hope we can all find a way to live together without conflict." Sophia nodded slowly. "We understand," she said. "Many neighbors have quietly given up land because they were scared. You are brave to stand up. We will support you if the association tries to pressure you further." Ravi felt a wave of relief. Every voice of support strengthened him. Over the next few days, he visited more homes, quietly speaking to neighbors. Some were hesitant, but most agreed that the association had overstepped its bounds. Slowly, a small network of support was forming around him. He felt encouraged. He realized that the fight was no longer just about his land. It had become a stand for fairness, for every resident who had felt pressured. Meanwhile, the association's visits became more strategic. They came in groups, with maps, plans, and even suggestions of meetings to finalize the land transfer. Each time, Ravi remained calm, presenting his documents and politely refusing to surrender any part of his yard. Myra's frustration grew with every encounter. One afternoon, Ravi was approached by a young man named Tariq who lived a few houses down. Tariq had overheard conversations about Ravi's resistance and came to speak privately. "I admire how you are handling this," he said. "Many of us were afraid to speak up, but seeing you stand firm gives us hope." Ravi smiled. "Thank you, Tariq. If neighbors speak together calmly and politely, we can protect what is right without causing chaos. I want peace, not trouble." Tariq nodded. "I will talk to a few others. If we stand together, the association cannot bully us individually." Ravi realized the importance of unity. Alone he could face pressure. Together, the neighborhood could protect fairness. Over the next week he helped organize small gatherings, quietly discussing concerns and sharing information about property rights. People appreciated the calm, factual approach he used. He never spoke angrily or insulted anyone. Instead, he focused on clarity and preparation. During this time Ravi also began improving his yard. The garden grew, and the flowers bloomed brightly. Each tree he planted felt like a statement of presence and determination. Neighbors passing by began to smile, noticing the life and care he brought to his property. It was not just a home, it had become a symbol of fairness and resilience. One morning, Mira arrived with several association members, more determined than before. They carried folders and maps and tried to corner Ravi near the back fence. "Ravi," Mira said firmly, "you have delayed enough. This land is needed for the community building. You must give it up." Ravi stayed calm. "I cannot surrender my property. I have legal documents proving ownership. If there is any dispute, it must be resolved formally. I want to find solutions, but I cannot give up what belongs to me." The gray-haired member scowled. "Most people would comply quietly. Why are you different?" Ravi smiled politely. "Because fairness matters. My neighbors deserve to see that standing up for what is right is possible. It is not just about my yard. It is about principle." Mira's frustration was visible. She looked at the other members, unsure how to respond. For the first time, Ravi noticed hesitation in their expressions. They realized he would not back down easily. Later that evening, Ravi met with Hazen, Layla, Tariq, and a few other supportive neighbors. They discussed strategies and ways to protect their rights collectively. Ravi suggested creating a small neighborhood committee to communicate concerns to the association politely and clearly. Everyone agreed. The group began drafting letters, collecting evidence of property boundaries, and making a plan to ensure the association could not push them individually. Ravi felt a growing sense of confidence. What had started as a personal challenge had become a neighborhood effort. The association could no longer rely on intimidation or confusion. Residents were now aware of their rights and prepared to stand together. One afternoon, while Ravi was watering his plants, he noticed Mira approaching alone. She carried her folder, but her usual confidence seemed diminished. Ravi greeted her politely. "Mira," he said, "how are you today?" She did not answer immediately. Instead, she glanced at his garden and frowned. "The association will not give up," she said finally. "We have plans. This land is important." Ravi nodded calmly. "I understand your plans, but my land is mine. I am ready to discuss solutions that do not involve taking property unfairly. Perhaps there is another way to improve the community without forcing residents to give up land." Mira's expression softened slightly. "We will see," she said. Then she walked away. Ravi smiled quietly. Each day his confidence grew. He realized that patience, clarity, and calm determination were stronger than anger or fear. He also knew that the support of neighbors made him stronger that evening. Ravi walked through his yard, observing the plants and flowers he had nurtured. The garden had grown, and the yard looked alive and full of hope. He thought about the future. He knew the association might escalate the fight, but he also knew he was ready. He had evidence, support, and the right approach. He would not back down. He sat on the small bench near the back fence, looking at the soft grass and the small trees. The wind carried the faint scent of flowers, and the sun was setting in warm orange tones. It was peaceful. It was his home. He felt a sense of pride. He was not just protecting land. He was protecting fairness, community, and respect for truth. Ravi knew the fight was far from over, but he also understood something important. When people stand together calmly and intelligently, they cannot be easily pushed aside. The association had underestimated him. They had underestimated the quiet strength of neighbors who valued fairness. He felt ready for whatever came next. The garden was not just plants and flowers anymore. It was a symbol of resilience, determination, and hope. And Ravi knew that the real challenge, the one that would truly test everyone's courage and unity, was just beginning. Tomorrow, he thought, would bring more meetings, more pressure, and more challenges. But Ravi was not afraid. He had the truth, he had preparation, and he had a growing circle of support. The fight for his yard had become a fight for fairness, and he was determined to win. Ravi woke early the next day. The sunlight filtered through the curtains, warming the soft cream walls of his home. He felt calm but focused. Today, he planned to take action beyond talking with neighbors. The association had tested his patience enough. It was time to show that he was prepared, organized, and unafraid. After breakfast, Ravi gathered all his documents. He checked them carefully once more. The official deed, the survey maps, purchase agreements, and tax records. Each paper was in order. Nothing could contradict them. He put the documents neatly into a folder and walked toward the yard. Imagining the meetings ahead, Myra and 2 other association members arrived shortly afterward. Their faces were serious, their steps firm. They expected Ravi to appear nervous or hesitant. Instead, he greeted them calmly, with a polite smile. "Mira," Ravi said, "thank you for coming. I have prepared all the information you need. Please let us discuss this calmly." Mira raised an eyebrow but said nothing. She gestured for the others to spread out near the back fence. They had maps and plans. Ready to argue, Ravi opened his folder and laid out the documents clearly. "These papers show that this land is part of my property," he said. "I am ready to answer questions, explain boundaries, and review every detail. My goal is fairness and clarity." The gray-haired member frowned. "We have plans for this land. Many people in the neighborhood expect it to be used for the community building. Why are you so stubborn?" Ravi remained calm. "I am not being stubborn. I am being fair. My property is mine. Legally, you may have plans, but plans cannot override law. If there is a dispute, it must follow proper procedures. I am willing to cooperate in ways that respect everyone's rights." Mira stepped closer. "Cooperation means giving up the land for the community. You are being unreasonable." Ravi shook his head gently. "Cooperation means finding solutions that respect law and fairness. I am open to compromise in ways that do not involve taking what belongs to me. For example, the community building could be redesigned, or another space could be used. There are options." The members exchanged glances. For the first time, Ravi noticed hesitation. Their confidence had weakened. They had expected fear, not determination. After the meeting, Ravi walked around the yard, reflecting. He realized that knowledge and preparation gave him strength. Fear and pressure were tools the association used, but evidence and logic were stronger. He had a clear plan, neighbors' support, and the right documents. He was no longer just defending a yard. He was standing for fairness. Over the next few days, Ravi continued to strengthen his position. He spoke with neighbors, sharing information about property rights and housing laws. Many residents admitted they had followed the association's instructions out of fear. Seeing Ravi's calm and steady approach encouraged them. Slowly, a network of support grew stronger, united not by anger but by truth and preparation. But one morning, Ravi discovered that Myra and 2 members were planning to survey the yard again. They intended to create pressure, assuming he would be intimidated. Ravi decided to respond in a new way. He invited Tariq Hazen and a few other supportive neighbors to observe. He explained to them that their presence would show the association that residents were informed and united. When Myra arrived with her maps and tools, she was surprised to see several neighbors standing calmly around Ravi's yard. Ravi greeted her politely. "Welcome, Myra. Please feel free to review the land. My neighbors are here to observe and support clarity. Let us ensure everything is accurate and fair." Myra's frown deepened. She gestured toward the others. "This is unnecessary. This land is for the community. You are making things difficult." Ravi smiled. "I am only making things fair. We want the community to grow and thrive, but that cannot happen by ignoring law and property rights. Let us check the boundaries carefully, so no mistakes occur." The neighbors watched quietly as Ravi and Myra walked the property line. He used the survey maps to show clearly where his property ended and where community land began. Myra attempted to argue, but Ravi pointed to the official documents, calmly explaining every detail. Each time she tried to push the issue, he presented evidence and logic. The neighbors nodded quietly, reinforcing the impression that Ravi was organized and correct. By the end of the day, Myra left without the usual confident stride. Her expression showed frustration and doubt. She realized that Ravi would not be pressured or intimidated. The fight had shifted. The association no longer had the easy control they expected. Ravi felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. He knew this was a turning point. By remaining calm, organized, and focused, he had shifted the balance. The association now had to consider the possibility that the neighborhood would not comply easily that evening. Ravi met with Tariq and Hazen to discuss next steps. "We need to document everything," Ravi said. "Every visit, every discussion, every map or folder. If the association escalates, we will have a clear record. This will show fairness and clarity in our favor." Tariq nodded. "We can also speak with neighbors quietly. If more people are aware and prepared, the association will find it harder to pressure anyone." Ravi smiled. "Exactly. Knowledge is our strength. Calm and unity will win over intimidation." Over the next week, Ravi continued improving his yard. He planted small trees along the boundary, bright flowers along the edges, and vegetables near the shed. Each planting felt symbolic. Every corner of the yard now reflected care, life, and persistence. Neighbors passing by commented on the beauty of the garden. Many began speaking quietly about Ravi's courage. One afternoon, Myra returned again, this time alone. She carried her folder but did not approach aggressively. Ravi greeted her politely. "As always, Myra," he said, "I see you are here again. How may I help?" She hesitated. "We need to reconsider options," she said slowly. "The community building is important, but we cannot ignore the legal evidence." Ravi nodded calmly. "That is all I have asked for. Fairness and clarity. If the community has other spaces or designs, I am open to discussion, but taking land that belongs to me is not an option. Myra looked down at the grass, then back at him. We will discuss this internally, she said finally. She turned and walked away without another word. Ravi felt a sense of calm satisfaction. For the first time, he noticed a real change. The association was starting to hesitate. They had expected him to surrender his yard quickly, but he had not. He had shown preparation, calmness, and support. Their confidence had weakened. That night, Ravi walked through his yard, observing the plants he had nurtured. The flowers glowed softly in the moonlight. The vegetable garden had small green shoots rising toward the sky. The trees stood tall, protecting the yard's corners. This yard was not just property anymore. It was a symbol of resilience, fairness, and determination. He thought about the neighbors who had joined him, quietly supporting truth and fairness. He realized that what had begun as a personal struggle had grown into a neighborhood stand for justice. The association had underestimated not only him but also the power of calm. Informed people standing together. Ravi sat on the small bench near the back fence. The wind carried the scent of flowers and the soft sound of leaves rustling. He smiled. Tomorrow, the association might return, and more challenges could arise. But he was ready. His documents were clear, his neighbors were aware, and his plan was strong. This fight was no longer just about a piece of land. It was about fairness, truth, and courage. And Ravi had all three in abundance. He went to bed with a sense of quiet confidence. The next steps would be crucial, but he knew he could face them. The association had started a fight, but they had underestimated him. They would soon regret it. The morning sun rose softly over Ravi's yard. The flowers he had planted glowed with dew, and the small vegetable plants stretched toward the light. Ravi took a deep breath. Today felt different. He sensed that the association might try one final push, but he felt ready, calm, prepared, and supported by his neighbors. He knew he had the strength to face whatever came next. He went through his documents once more, making sure everything was organized. Every map, every survey, every deed was in order. He also prepared a notebook with notes of every interaction with Mira and the association. He wanted to ensure that if the situation escalated, he had a clear record. Preparation had been his greatest tool. Around mid-morning, Mira and two other members of the association arrived. Their steps were measured, their expressions serious. They expected Ravi to be nervous or uncertain. Instead, he greeted them calmly and gestured toward the garden. "Good morning, Mira," he said. "I hope we can have a clear and fair discussion today." Myra's lips pressed together. "We need to finalize this matter," she said. "The association expects you to give up part of your yard." Ravi shook his head gently. "I cannot do that. My property is mine, legally and fairly. I am open to discussion about community improvements, but taking land that belongs to me is not an option." The gray-haired member looked frustrated. Most people would comply quietly. "Why are you making this so difficult?" Ravi smiled calmly. "Because fairness matters. I cannot allow law and truth to be ignored. My neighbors and I are committed to resolving this in a proper way." Myra opened her folder and spread maps on the fence line. She tried to argue, pointing to unclear lines and suggesting overlaps. Ravi examined each map carefully and then presented his own official documents. Each time, he pointed out the exact boundaries, the legal surveys, and the records. Myra's frustration grew as her arguments kept failing. Then something unexpected happened. A few neighbors, including Hazan, Layla, and Tariq, stepped forward. They had gathered quietly, supporting Ravi. Each neighbor spoke calmly, showing the association that Ravi was not alone. They verified the yard boundaries and confirmed that Ravi had the correct legal papers. The association members exchanged uneasy glances. They had expected intimidation, not evidence and support. Myra's confident demeanor faltered. She tried to continue, but the presence of witnesses and clear documentation left her without strong arguments. Ravi remained calm and polite. "I respect the association's goals. I want the community to grow and thrive. But fairness and law cannot be ignored. I am open to discussion on how to achieve your goals without taking my land. There are alternative spaces for community projects. Let us find solutions together, rather than forcing anyone unfairly." Mira paused. For the first time, she seemed uncertain. She looked at the neighbors, who nodded quietly in agreement with Ravi. The atmosphere shifted. The association realized that continuing to push would only create resistance and conflict. After a long pause, Mira closed her folder. "We will review this internally," she said slowly. She turned and walked away, followed by the other members. Ravi watched quietly as they left. Feeling a quiet sense of triumph, the neighbors cheered softly, happy to see justice prevail. Hazen clapped Ravi on the shoulder. "You did it," he said. "You stayed calm, prepared, and fair. That is why they had to back down." Ravi smiled. "We did it together. Fairness is stronger when people stand united calmly. This was not just my fight. It was for every neighbor who has been pressured or intimidated." Over the next few days, the neighborhood returned to normal. The association made no further demands, and the community began focusing on peaceful improvements. They realized that they could work with residents without forcing unfair actions. Ravi continued speaking quietly with neighbors, helping ensure that everyone understood their rights and how to handle disagreements calmly. Ravi also continued improving his yard. The flowers bloomed brightly, vegetables grew strong, and small trees provided shade in the corners. The garden became a symbol of calm, determination, fairness, and resilience. Neighbors often walked past, admiring the beauty and care he had put into it. Children played near the edges, and adults smiled as they noticed the peaceful energy surrounding the home. One afternoon, Myra came to Ravi's gate again. This time, her tone was different. She looked tired, but there was respect in her eyes. "Ravi," she said slowly, "I want to apologize for the pressure we caused. We acted too quickly and underestimated your preparation and support. I see now that fairness matters, and you have shown it clearly." Ravi nodded politely. "Thank you, Myra. I appreciate your acknowledgement. The community can grow stronger when we work together respectfully and fairly. I am happy to support projects that benefit everyone, as long as property rights are respected." Myra smiled faintly. "I understand. Thank you." She turned and walked away, leaving Ravi feeling a sense of closure and relief. In the following weeks, Ravi hosted a small gathering for neighbors. They shared tea and snacks, celebrating the peace and cooperation that had returned to the street. There was laughter, conversation, and quiet appreciation. The garden looked beautiful in the sunlight, a testament to resilience and care. Ravi reflected on the journey. He realized that the fight had taught him many things. Patience, preparation, calmness, and unity were more powerful than anger or confrontation. He had also learned the importance of building support and standing for fairness, even when faced with pressure. Most importantly, he understood that a home was more than walls and a yard. A home was a place where truth and respect were protected, where neighbors could support one another, and where patience and intelligence could create harmony. As the sun set over the quiet street, Ravi walked through his yard one last time that evening. The flowers swayed gently in the breeze. The vegetable plants stretched toward the fading light, and the small trees cast long shadows across the grass. This yard was his, not just legally but spiritually. It represented fairness, resilience, and the quiet strength of calm determination. Ravi sat on the bench near the back fence. He thought about the neighbors who had joined him, the documents that had guided him, and the patience that had carried him through the fight. The association had tried to take his land, but he had faced them with calm intelligence and preparation. They had started a fight, but in the end they had learned that courage and truth cannot be ignored. He smiled quietly. The garden, the yard, and the peaceful home around him were now safe. The fight was over, and the neighborhood had learned an important lesson. Fairness and unity were stronger than pressure and intimidation. Ravi knew that life would continue with small challenges and daily tasks, but he felt confident that he could face anything calmly and wisely. The garden, now alive and thriving, reminded him of the journey he had taken. Every flower, every vegetable plant, every tree was a symbol of his determination and the fairness he had fought to protect. He leaned back on the bench, feeling the soft breeze and the warm glow of the evening sun. His home was peaceful, his yard was safe, and the neighborhood respected fairness once more. Ravi knew that this victory was not just for him, but for every neighbor who valued truth, patience, and calm courage. The fight had ended, but the lessons of perseverance, preparation, and fairness would remain forever. Ravi had moved in seeking peace, and through patience, intelligence, and support, he had not only protected his land but strengthened the spirit of the community. And for the first time in weeks, Ravi felt a deep, satisfying sense of calm. He had won.